What's the deal with run clubs?
I find running with the crowd just helps pull me along.
It gets you motivated running with other people.
I didn't used to be able to run 3K and now I can run 10.
It was essentially just an initiative to connect average runners with local businesses.
What brings you to the run club today?
The ice cream, obviously. To get out of the house after work. Good vibes, everyone's super friendly.
But eventually word just spread, the same people would kind of come back.
Do you know what? This seems like a community I can get behind.
And then their friends would come every now and again.
We both decided that we didn't have enough hobbies.
They're not growing by coincidence.
Saw all the social media around run clubs.
All these run clubs now, I see them every single day.
2024 saw a boom in run clubs flooding our feeds. We're now heading into winter. Which of those will have the longevity?
We then launched Gold Coast, we launched Sunny Coast and Sydney as well.
We love seeing the progression of the runs. We get further and further.
Melbourne's got one coming up soon, Perth, we got one in the States and the UK coming up soon.
I came to Unfit realistically hungover, doing 5Ks barely, and now I'm training for a marathon.
Yeah, it was just a weird idea and obviously running wasn't cool then.
On this episode of the God Given Talent podcast, I want to know what led to the sudden popularity in run clubs, focusing specifically on one in particular, Unfit running.
We're in Brisbane City right now.
Yeah.
Did it begin this location or in a different location in Brisbane?
Not far from here actually, just down in West End at Cheeky Bean Espresso. We've been back a few times, so it's obviously pretty cool that they were happy to accommodate us at the start, but literally just this tiny little hole in the wall. I actually used to live, funnily enough we're doing this here, I actually used to live above here.
Oh really?
That's actually weird that we're actually doing that. This is actually where the whole thing was raised, essentially conspired, was in here. I used to live on the top floor there.
When you started it?
Yeah, that's weird. I never even thought about that. Bloody hell. Yeah, but it wasn't started in this location. It was started down the road. But yeah, that's weird. Yeah, so, and again, it was literally just Unfit Run Club. The Instagram account started and they, we messaged Cheeky Bean and they're like, what the hell's a run club? And why are you running? And why would you want to run from here? And why are you promoting us?
This is Corey, founder of Unfit Running, which he launched well before the run clubs are the new dating apps craze began. A marketing angle they interestingly never lent into. Now, I've since visited a couple of the runs this winter, and the numbers they're still attracting is truly impressive. This is more than a run club. This is becoming a running brand. With growth in supporters, I don't see slowing down.
What brought you to Unfit Run Club?
We both decided that we didn't have enough hobbies and we enjoy running, so we thought it would be a good way to get out and socialise and do something active.
I actually walked past Messina one night when these guys were here and I was like, everyone looks so happy and nice, and maybe that's a really cool way that I can immerse myself in a community.
I moved to Brisbane about 2 years ago, was looking for a way to meet new people, and I started coming to Unfit last year, and I've made the most lovely connections here.
I was back in 2020, so essentially just an initiative to kind of connect average runners with local businesses that were struggling at the time, right? Like, I'm sure you're aware, like what happened back in 2020, right? With how everything kind of flipped on its head, and then it was just a weird idea, and obviously running wasn't cool then. Run clubs certainly weren't a thing, or at this level, right? And it's just a strange idea, but I remember months sitting there with nobody. One person, a mate, maybe one person from the cafe would come along. But the premise was to just try and help them, try and connect people with their business, promote their business through our social media channels, and then along the way try and get them to come along, and it's kind of worked.
If there was only one person showing up each time, when did the momentum start coming along?
I don't know. I feel like after about 6 months we're getting a little bit of traction. I mean, nothing in comparison to what we've got now, obviously. But back then, 6 months in, if we got 15 people, that was huge, right? And we only had the one location. But eventually, word just spread. The same people would kind of come back, and then their friends would come every now and again, and they'd bring their kids or their dog or the next door neighbour, or we even started to get a lot of the cafe owners would come along as well. I reckon 6 to 8 months in, the traction was starting to come along, but then it went through a lull again, right? We kind of thought we were killing it, and at the time 15 was huge, and then there was a lull maybe 9-10 months in where it went back to 5 to 10. It'd rain, and then we wouldn't see anybody for 2 to 3 weeks, and then people would always turn up, but it might be a 1, a 5, and then I'd say after a year we were seeing some pretty solid numbers, and then we kind of thought, well, we might have something here, and then we decided to maybe start looking at other locations as well, which was pretty cool.
historically, if you ask other run leaders as well too, they got asked to be a run leader, whereas myself, I kept begging to be a run leader. I was like turning up to Unfit and I was like, oh, please let me be a run leader, please let me be a run leader, let me do a speech. Like I sought after it, you know, and then, you know, I finally got to do a run speech. I bombed my first go, right? So it was a bit embarrassing, but after that, gave it a few more attempts and just kept coming back at it. And then, Lord behold, like became a run leader. So generally for those guys and girls that are new in the crowd, I'll generally be speaking to them like pre-run speech. When I was running, a few of them caught up behind me and they started running with me and started chatting with me too.
Getting involved with it, I think it was just the idea of making people who felt like me when I first came to my first Unfit. I mean, I work from home mostly, so a lot of the social interaction had to be outside of my work. And so making other people that come alone sort of feel like there's like community and love here and that we sort of have a common purpose. I think main reason I want to be involved is just sort of give people the same experience I had.
With all this exponential growth, what was the reasoning behind starting new locations?
The DMs just fill up with people wanting us to bring this beast on the road, right? So it's always just played in the back of our heads, and we didn't want to dilute the brand, and we always had to make sure we found the right people that align with who we were, and we didn't have any ambition to sort of to even be here, right? Let alone 100 locations or whatever we've got. But when we kept coming back to our core values and what we started this for, it was to help local business, right? So we just thought, we kept saying no to people, and I thought, why not? If we find the right person, why not? Why don't we just keep expanding? So we did. So we launched all the ones I mentioned to you before, and then at each location there's 2 or 3 runs. Brizzy's now got 4, Sydney's got 1, going to be 2 soon. Melbourne's got 1 coming up soon, Perth, we've got 1 in the States and the UK coming up soon. It's obviously now that it's becoming a running brand as much as a run club, right? It's really just to continue supporting business, right? We estimate somewhere between the best part of sort of 750 grand we've spent since 2020 back into the local economy. I think at the moment we're just rough figures, it's probably like between 8 to 9K a week it generates, and like that's not for us, right? That just goes back into the economy, so it's a pretty powerful thing. Yeah. And so if we can start 4 runs per major city, and it could be big money, right? Wow. So I think we'd be mad not to keep it going. We're just trying to keep up with it all now.
What's the type of feedback you've received from these businesses that you've been including in your runs?
Yeah, they're stoked. Obviously, it's funny, like we get hit up by so many in the areas that we're known, and we say, hey, look, if we can come there soon, if the run's safe for the runners and the whole thing works, then we'll definitely come along. But then, we went to Sydney, for instance, and surprisingly, a lot of people showed up to the launch. We expected it to be me and a couple of the creative team in the background, bit sitting there by ourselves. But when we hit up, say, Future Brewing, for instance, they'd obviously never heard of us, right? Which is not to say we're anything in Brisbane, but obviously everyone kind of has a bit of an idea what we get up to here. So yeah, it's almost starting from square one again in terms of the businesses knowing what we're about. So we've got the full scenario. We send them the pitch decks and what we get up to and everything we've done in the past. But it seems to be a harder sell to get them to understand why we're doing it rather than the community, right? We turned up to Sydney and 50 odd turned up, which was cool for the launch. So it's a weird one, feeling like we're having to start from zero again, but it's exciting though, and it's cool. We've got good people in there, so no, it's very good.
Being a run leader, what I've enjoyed about doing it since then is getting to build some pretty good connections with some of the businesses that we support. And so some of the cafes, some of the breweries as well, getting to understand how their businesses work, what we kind of bring to them as well. Particularly for some of the cafes, like we bring a pretty large crowd.
What was the growth like when run clubs became a bit of a trend more at the start of this year?
Yeah, so we obviously saw a bit of an uptake, and I guess in between what we just spoke about and running becoming a cool thing this year, we then launched Gold Coast, we launched Sunny Coast and Sydney as well. I'd say if we were getting 100 to 2 runs in Brisbane a week, we were loving it. Prior to this year, maybe a little bit earlier, but obviously by that time we'd maybe started 3 or 4 runs just in Brizzy, and we were probably getting, I don't know, 150 to 200 runners show up
per run.
For the week. So maybe across 2 to 4 runs, and then this whole running boom. And all of a sudden, you know, like tonight here at Messina, for instance, we might get 100 plus. Beer run on a Thursday generally gets 130, 140. Gold Coast is getting basically the same numbers now. So yeah, I think in terms of numbers now versus back then, it's probably 4x at least. Like we're probably getting somewhere between sort of 700 to 800 a week showing up, which is crazy, right?
I find that the run community is by far the most cohesive and supportive community. I'm not a runner. I've got a little body. I just wanted to have a crack by going through all the run clubs just because I can see how fastly they're growing, and they're not growing by coincidence. You know, they're good people getting active every morning. Beautiful little community.
I grew up on the Gold Coast, so I wasn't actually essentially coming here to look for friends. It was more of the fitness side, but what really kept me here was the family we've created. 99% of the people that I talk to on a daily basis is my run family. They've made me achieve things that I never thought I could achieve. They've pushed me and picked me up when I've been down. So yeah, just absolutely adore them. Absolutely adore them. I couldn't do life without them. And it's not just about the running. Like we go and hang out outside of Run Club. Like we're all heading to breakfast now. I'll be seeing them tomorrow. Like it's just, yeah, I think I see them 7 days a week pretty much.
What about the feedback from people who've joined Unfit? What are they saying they're getting out of it?
Yeah, we get some pretty cool stories, to be honest, and it actually still blows us away today because, as I said, we didn't start this to be anything, right? It was just a whole business. But some of the story, like we've got so many people that have ended up together, and not because we're promoting that. It's just naturally they run together, and now they've, you know, that's just how things go. We've had stories of us saving people's lives and saving people's marriages and saving people, you know, helping with their mental health and. Oh, it blows you away. Like when you hear that, like one of the guys on the Gold Coast is, sent a message to Isaac, who runs Gold Coast and community the other day, saying it's basically transformed his whole life. That, you know, he's basically half the size he was when he started Run Club. He exercises every day. He's now doing triathlons and all sorts of stuff, and it's crazy, right? Especially when we had no intent to do that.
I mean, for me personally, I've experienced so much. I never thought I could be training for a marathon. I'm doing the GC30 tomorrow. I've just done 2 triathlons over the last couple of months. I mean, I came to Unfit realistically coming on Saturdays hungover, doing 5Ks barely, feeling like absolute crap. And now I've met such a good supportive group of people, and I want to just get people uplifted and do what I'm doing as well. I did the Melbourne Half Marathon last year with Unfit Project. There was a key moment. We were at Henchman one night, and it was after the Gold Coast Marathon when everyone turned up with their medals for their halves, their full, it was their first event. And at this point, I wasn't running. Like, I just did it for the socials. I saw everyone come with their medals, and I'm like, look at the achievement they've got. Look how happy and excited and proud they are. I wanted to do it. So I started talking to people about it. Unfit released it. We all went down to Melbourne, smashed it, got my goal. I loved it, and here we are.
It's always been about the average punter to feel welcome, but now that you've got guys where you're changing their life and they're becoming a triathlete, it's like, oh, what, like Unfit 2020 versus Unfit 2024, they probably have different meanings. So we're currently working through that to continue to work with the guys that those kinds of stories, right? To see, we don't want to lose you, or we don't want to continue to help you. It's what can we help you do now? Yeah. You've become a new person, for lack of a better term, but they're little things we're working on, you know, not just come along for a social 3-5K run and have a beer or have a gelato after it. It's if you do want to be a triathlete, or you do want to do some crazy challenge where you run around Australia, like let's help you facilitate that, right? Yeah. So they're little things we're working on now, which is it's amazing, really.
For you personally, who started it, how does that make you feel with the impact you've made on local businesses, on people's lives?
Oh, it's been great. It's pretty humbling, really, to see what this has turned into. I mean, running's changed my life as well, to be honest, which is pretty cool, right? Like, I ran my first marathon last year, which I had, again, no intention of ever doing, which was cool.
You at the Gold Coast Marathon?
No, it was actually in Melbourne. Yeah, we took a big crew down to Melbourne late last year for the Nike Melbourne one, and it was cool. Like, running's definitely changed my life, but also, I guess, we've always just thought that if you do good by people, good things will happen in return. And the benefit that I get back from this is just, you can't measure it, right? The connections you see people make, you know, you can see that the run leaders over here already getting here 20 minutes before the run, like they do this out of the kindness of their own heart, right? And you can see the difference it's making to them too. So it's a pretty powerful thing. And the most important one for me is, I've got 2 young boys, and every day now all they're doing is running, talking about running, run, that's all they think, right? So I'm no picture of health, and I'm certainly no elite athlete, but it's nice to be able to show them and see them talking and thinking about it at 2 and 4. Yeah, it's pretty bloody cool.
So if there's one sentence you can summarise your why, because a lot of that could probably stem from that why, how would you summarise your why?
My why for Unfit?
Unfit, even for yourself?
Yeah. I just want to show that my boys that they can do anything they want, right? Like, it's been an absolute beast to get this thing to where it is now. It's, you know, the overnight 4-year success kind of scenario. Yeah. I've got another couple of businesses outside of this, and I've got a wife, and it's full on, right? But if you're just willing to have a go and do the right thing by people and persist, even when you think it's not going to work out, like, good things just happen. They just find a way, right?
You know that if you're having a bit of a crappy day, you can still show up, and there'll be someone who'll want to run with you, or someone who'll kind of match your pace or challenge you in a different ways.
You set the pace, I'll run with it.
I've been coming for about 2 or 3 months now.
Great.
It's a good run along the beach here, so.
I always feel runner's high is a thing.
Yeah.
Feels so good afterwards.
We didn't really want to do the usual where we just go out on our own, I reckon. Wanted to get around a few people.
And so now I've been coming for, I think, over 1.5 years, and I've made some really good friends. We even have a little run club chat.
Join a run club, come to Unfit. There's so many on the Gold Coast, go to any of them, preferably Unfit. Maybe you just got to make that leap and try bring a friend, come by yourself, just put yourself out there. I mean, that's what I did, and now here we are.
So that final question is, what's next for Unfit running?
So we touched on it just before. We are sort of in a transition period now to become a running brand. So it's obviously been community initiative first, which is a run club which supports local community. That'll always continue on, and we'll expand that around the country and around the world. But it's us changing to being a running brand within the genre that we've kind of created. You know, the beer, the wine, the coffee, the running, the very relaxed nature, the gelato, the elite athlete with the average punter. The no shirts off, you're not chasing the PBs, just a very, very low barrier of entry running brand. So that way we can, manufacture clothing, have a podcast. We see everybody out there in their Nike kit or their Adidas kit or going along to, the Nike Melbourne Marathon, and we just think like maybe it's time for us to have our little chunk, right? So big ambitions. Obviously, shiny object syndrome plays a huge role. So we're working on that and trying to curb that, so that way we're not doing too many things.
It's exciting. That's a watch this space kind of way of summarising all that.
Basically, yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's 3 of the 400 things we're working on right now, right? So who knows what it's going to turn into. But it's all good. Like, we got some collaborations coming up with a few huge brands as well. And we're taking a massive crew down to Sydney Marathon this year. So who knows? I've just listed another 7, right? Who freaking knows? But no, it's exciting, man. We're all for it. And, where are we now? We're like 10 minutes out from the run. And to see this amount of people here already, I think we're onto a winner, which is nice.
Yeah, you're right. I've been so focused on this conversation, I've missed how many people are here.
Yeah.
It's incredible what you've created, but obviously, all the credit goes to you. There's hundreds of different people that have helped you out, graphic designers, run leaders. It's a great initiative that you birthed, but it's incredible to see people have taken that vision and have helped turn it into what it is today. So, Corey, thank you. Or were you going to say something?
No, that's the thing. I think most of the credit actually goes to those guys, right?
Yeah.
At this stage, and that's a big reason for us trying to turn it into a running brand, so that way we can continue on our community initiative, but if we can build into a running brand behind it that can be self-sustaining, and then like the designers that we've got and the photographers and all the run leaders and everyone else that makes this thing tick. I mean, there's about 35 to 40 people in the background, right, that essentially work for Unfit for nothing, which is mad, right? They're buying into this crazy vision that we're all on now. So yeah, a huge thanks got to go to them. But obviously, hopefully, once we build this out, we can repay them, right? So that's the plan anyway.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. Thanks so much for the interview.